guess we will call to order. Welcome, commissioners, and welcome, everybody. We'll get started now. Did everyone have a chance to review the agenda? Are there any additions or edits?
I'd like to move to approve the agenda as written.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We have an approved agenda. Brief announcement from staff, commissioners, and council liaisons. Do any commissioners or staff have any announcements?
I do. I don't know if you've heard, but our city manager has accepted a new position at the county. He'll be the county administrator. We're expecting him to be here through the end of March. And we all want to send him our congratulations.
Congratulations.
Will we have any interaction with them, like between the city and the county?
I'm sure that, I
Something.
don't know, but it will, I'm sure we'll be seeing him at a number of the county city meetings. But we'll find out more once he's established.
Sounds good.
Do you know if an interim has been announced or it's possible?
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay. At this time, any member of the public may step forward to address the commission on anything that's not listed on this agenda. Extra agendas are available right here or in the back.
Okay.
In the back.
At the table.
Any public comment? Each item scheduled for action or discussion that is on the agenda will have a specific public comment opportunity. And when there's public comment, speakers are limited to no more than 3 minutes, and we ask that you please state your name for the record. All right. Consent calendar.
This is the meeting minutes.
Okay. Can we get a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from last meeting.
All in favor?
Oops, 1 second. I'll second it first.
Oh, sorry.
That's all good. It takes time. Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have approved minutes. First thing on the agenda, Dana, would you like to take this one or start?
I'll start. I'll be introducing Thomas McCarron, who's from our Community Development Department, and he'll be bringing the 212 University project here.
Yeah, thanks. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Thomas McNair. I'm a planner in the Community Development Department, and tonight I'm bringing forward a project at 212 University. It is a 5-story, 20-unit apartment building within the review of the Downtown Specific Plan and Downtown Form-Based Code. It's a mixture of 3 and 4 bedroom apartments amongst the 5 stories, and it provides adequate bike parking in the basement up to our bike ordinance. Tonight is going to be focused specifically on the affordable housing plan, so it is still within design review through the Downtown Form-Based Code. This project is a little bit unique in the fact that it was applied through the it was what's called the builder's remedy. It's a specific law that precludes the city from essentially denying the project as long as the project provides an adequate amount of affordable housing. It also came under the density bonus law, which allows the project to ask for specific concessions and waivers from development standards. So as a result, we have quite a narrow scope to review this project under, and even more specifically under the builder's remedy. The builder's remedy states that we cannot require things on the developer beyond the percentage of affordability units and the level of affordability. Therefore, things like the clustering of units within a building, per our ordinance, our inclusionary ordinance, cannot be, asked. It can be asked, but it cannot be required on the developer. Therefore, with the site plan on the screen, each of the units, each of the floors are very similar, and so the developer has elected to place all of the affordable units on the first floor. So the next slide, please. Tonight we propose to you a choice. The developer has elected to provide two different affordable housing plans. The first was the original, and that was provided with the submission of the project. That provides 20% of the units as affordable, but only as low income. Since the proposal of the project, the Builder's Remedy Law has been updated as of the first of the year, and the law has changed to now allow the developer to propose 13% of the project as affordable. So the amended option, the amended affordable housing plan, that I actually don't have with me tonight, as it was kind of late in the proposal. I can get that, if needed and if conditioned, but the amended affordable housing plan complies with our inclusionary ordinance closer than the original, and provides 15% of the units, so essentially 3 of the units. But instead of 20% being low, it elects to provide 10% as very low and 5% as low. So instead of providing 4 units, it provides 3, but it provides a lower level of affordability. So, we have, next slide please, sorry. So based on your choice tonight, Commission, is how we are going to condition the project to provide the number of affordable units that is required on the applicant tonight. The approval tonight is subject based on the approval of the design review, which is concurrent and is likely to conclude within the next few weeks to months. So if you have any questions about your choice tonight, why you have a choice, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. We can now take public comment.
Commissioners, I'm Craig Reynolds, 230 42nd Street, just across the street to the left of the project. My wife, Kat Sylvie, and I have lived there for 37 years. And we've had a University Avenue Neighborhood Association. We've been struggling for 37 years to preserve our residential, unique community there, and had many battles and resolutions and solved many problems, and we are compatible with the students there. And this is really, you have no choice tonight on this project, and I understand that under the Builder's Remedy. I found out that Davis now has a housing element, so this is the second and final project ever to be approved through the Builder's Remedy in Davis, which means that public comment means nothing under the Builder's Remedy. So I'm here understanding that my comment is ineffective and useless, and is a result of that law and the City Council failing to have an approved housing element for a period of time. And this snuck in there right before. So it's a sad day for our neighborhood. I'm confident under normal conditions, this project would never, ever be approved. It's a monstrosity. It is a 5-story dormitory. in a neighborhood that has two-story apartments and residential housing. It's ridiculous. It would never happen except for this narrow window of opportunity that denies the citizens of Davis, our planning commission, and our city council the opportunity to deny this project, as I'm confident they would have under normal circumstances. So I guess I just, on behalf of my community and my neighborhood, need to express that for the record, knowing that you have no ability to change it. So it's a sad day for our neighborhood, because I think this will really be the end of it. Constructing this 5-story dormitory, and let's be honest, that's what it is. It's a dormitory. It's not an apartment house. It's a dormitory if you look at the design. And student housing is important to have close to the university, and I don't deny that. And in fact, I even support the builder's remedy to force communities to provide affordable housing. And Davis should never have had been put in this situation and failed to have a housing element. So that's on the prior city council, not you, Lord.
Thank you,
so
sir, that's your time.
I'm done? Okay. Buenas noches.
Is there any other public comment?
I just have a question.
Sure.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jean Saber, and I live at 225 B Street. I'd just like some more information, if I could have it, please, on the process. Will there be any other opportunity to take a look at the plans for the public to comment on the look and feel of the building, or is this the last opportunity for public comment before it comes to the council or planning commission? Thank you.
Thank you.
I can answer that if you'd
Yes,
like.
please.
Yeah, so tonight is going to be the only public hearing on the matter, unless appealed, per the form-based code as approved as a part of the specific plan, the downtown specific plan. This is actually going to be a staff level review. And so there will be, as a part of staff level review, there will be an open comment period on the design review prior to approval of the project. And that will be open for 10 days, and it will be issued via mailer to folks within a 500-foot radius of the project. And then there will also be a notice on our webpage that will give folks the opportunity to provide public comment.
And parking is not something that we can...
So per the downtown specific plan, parking is not required on projects. And even furthermore, there's a state law, it's AB 2097, and it precludes the city from requiring any kind of parking on a project that's within a half a mile of public transit. And that is, if you look at a map, it's probably 90+% of Davis, except for the outskirts, is within a half a mile of public transit.
Thank you.
Okay, let's open it up for, is there any more public comment before we move to discussion? Okay, seeing none, let's open it up for discussion.
Okay, actually, I'm sorry, that was my daughter's tutor. Sorry, he uses Skype, he's super old school. So I just missed the discussion with public comment. Could we just summarize, yeah?
So if this was, the project was approved.
Yeah.
And this was all, this is gonna be the last opportunity for public comment as we see it here. There will be another opportunity for folks within a 500-foot radius of the building to provide comment on the design.
Okay.
And our task at hand today is to recommend if we want, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 low-income units or 2 low-income and 1 very low-income. So it's,
Switched.
Other way around. Yeah, 2 very low and 1 low.
oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
So what are we required in terms of very low for, I know for our plan through 2029? Do we have a kind of an allocation of how many low and very low?
I have the number, I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to go through the numbers? 'Cause
Yes.
okay, so Yeah, so in the housing element, there's the Davis Housing Needs Allocation Table, and so it shows by affordability level from 2021 to 2029, the amount of housing you need for extremely low income, or it's needed, yeah, for extremely low income households, very low income, moderate and above income, moderate and above income level. And so for extremely low, there's 290 planned, or so 290 needed. And I used the housing dashboard on the city's website to look at our pipeline, our housing pipeline for all different kinds of affordable housing, all of our housing projects, and how many are designated at each income level. And so for the extremely low, there's zero plan. I know tonight we're not looking at option for extremely low, but there's 290 needed and zero plan for extremely low, planned in all the developments that are on our housing dashboard website. For very low income, there's 290 needed and 211 planned. And yeah, perhaps not all the planned ones will come to fruition, but we're getting close to 290, but we're not, there's still a gap there. For low income, interestingly, there are 350 needed in the allocation table and 712 planned.
Wow.
Again, maybe not all of those will be built, but that's what's in the pipeline. And then for moderate income, yeah, 340 needed and 15 planned. Yeah.
That really answers our
Thank you.
question.
Thanks.
We
Well, I didn't know
got
that
the information,
answers
we've been
the
debating
question.
it without the information.
So we're looking at low, we're looking at 350 needed, but 712 are planned.
In the pipeline, and again, anyone can check my numbers, it's on the housing dashboard site, but yeah, 712 are in the pipeline. I mean, it might be longer, that pipeline might extend past 2029, I don't know, because there's like Shriners and a lot of big properties that might take longer to develop. But yeah, 712 planned.
So in the pipeline, that means that they've already been, like, they're in a plan.
There's different levels, so yeah, I think there's 4 different levels on the housing dashboard site. There's like applied but pending approval. I don't know, you could tell better than I. Some are approved but not under construction yet. Some are under construction, and then some are completed. And so they're varying levels. So these 712 are across all of those levels.
Okay,
Yeah,
but for very low, we're short.
we're short.
That kind of answers that question.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
For me, yeah, I struggled with this, but looking at these numbers, I felt like, yeah, we clearly need more very low-income houses. According to the numbers in the allocation table, the housing element, if we trust that number, then I would recommend option for 3 with the 2 very low income.
Thank you for getting those out.
That's great.
Yeah.
That totally answers the question.
Save time.
Yeah, because I was leaning towards more for the 4, and then I was just like, but I need some numbers. Thank you. So clearly, I would lean towards doing 3 and having 2 very lows.
Assuming there's these are the 2 options, no opportunity or no possibility of going like extremely low or anything like that, because like that's where there's zero plan, where the real need is.
Yeah, we only have the 2 options tonight, unfortunately for the extremely low, but yeah.
Can I say one thing, Thomas, about the low?
Yeah, sure, so this is Chris Williams.
Hi, I'm Chris, I'm the applicant. We try to put those both options out there so that you all have a choice to kind of choose them. I did want to just specify that we do have approval already for the low option. This very low kind of alternative came up maybe 4 or 5 days ago at the city's request. So we don't have specific approval to do that as far as when we're building it. The low option gives us the greatest number of affordable units we can provide, and that is something that we are certain we can build and go forward with. The other one is kind of still up in limbo, so just wanted to give you that piece of information as well.
So, just from my understanding, why do we even have an option? I mean, if we had just gone with the first proposal, it would have been fine, and right? I mean,
Yeah, that
why are we faced with this option?
Chris,
I kind of have that same question as well, but it was at the request of the city and kind of our council who was stuck in traffic on the way from from the city.
I can provide some context, yeah. So, this project has been in process for a while. We've been working on some of the design review details. And then this is kind of a concurrent process that runs along with the design review, the affordable housing plan. We have not taken the affordable housing plan to you all. To date, this is the first time that you all have seen this project. And we usually like to wait until the design review is somewhat finished or near finished, so then we have an idea of what the design is going to be and how many units there is going to be, and then we can figure out how many potential units there will be. Since the project came in and since it was proposed, there has been a change in the builder's remedy law that allows for a second choice. So originally, builder's remedy required 20% of the units to be affordable. However, since then, on Jan 1, 2025, there was an update to builder's remedy that actually reduced the requirement to 13%. So, an applicant can elect to actually provide 13% rather than 20. And so the applicant has provided us with an opportunity to meet the inclusionary ordinance and get a little bit more of the very low income rather than just have low income. And that came as, a question and direction from staff trying to meet the inclusionary ordinance as much as we could. So the original still stands, but there is still this option to have, an amended affordable housing plan per your request and your choice.
I'm wondering how much approximately the very low income units would go for and how much the low income, because it sounds like, the developer is gonna be better off with just placing the 3 under this low income. And I know you said there's no possibility to move it more, maybe like 3 very low income, and that, in terms of the value for the developer, like how much are each of the units gonna be sold for, and what's the total that's gonna be allocated?
Yeah, unknown right now, and I don't even know if there's an opportunity to crunch the numbers at the moment. I'm sure that there's an estimate that the applicant developer has, but I think you hear that when he said that it's still not approved, on his end necessarily on if he can make the numbers work. But it's still a proposal that you have before you tonight.
I can give you a little bit of information on that. So they're not condo units, they will be apartments, so these won't be, it's not like you can, we got one less unit and we'll sell those 3 units. There'll have to be those units on site at all times, and the people that rent those will always have to qualify as affordable housing.
They're for rent.
They're for rent. Yeah, so, and all cards on the table. The low is, it's 4 more bedrooms and, another whole unit. So it's, if you want to, the way you were saying it, that's a little worse for the developer. But again, that's how we had it originally planned, and it's been approved that way, through the lender and the builder and all that sort of thing. So that's a little worse for us, but we know we can get it built, and it allows us to provide the most amount of affordable units for the city. So, for what it's worth.
And from the department's perspective, it gives us a deeper dive into affordability for people that are trying to get into or trying to maintain their housing. Keeps them from being less housing insecure. We can find more people that can qualify to meet the lower income.
I want to clarify, so as far as what caused the January 1 date, is it because the council's housing element got updated? Or when you say the builder's remedy requirements changed, was that internally from the city, or is it externally from somewhere else?
It's the state requirement,
State
yeah.
requirement,
So the builder's remedy is a state requirement for the Housing and Accountability Act, I think. And that had an update last year through the legislative session that became effective on Jan 1.
And I'm sorry, can I ask?
Yeah.
Okay, so, and you said that on January 1st, the requirement became 13%, which would only be 2 units. Would be less,
Yes.
It would
it's
be-
less
it
than
would
the
be-
three,
it
yeah.
would be less than the 3. But the applicant is volunteering to go up to 15, and that gives you 3 units, right? And before it was 4 at 20%, right? And so I hear the question here about, well, can we get 3 at the very low? But right now, it's unclear if you can even get the 2 at the very low.
Correct.
Right, so even if the commission says we want 2, but we prefer 3, we still have to wait to see what comes back.
Correct, and just
from
because this was such a late add, the change, the request to add that in,
Mhm.
we don't have approval, to go forward building that. For certain, we can do the original proposal.
The
So,
3 at low.
The 4 at the,
Oh, you can do 4 at low.
right,
Yeah.
Or low,
Or 2 very low, 1 low.
right.
So it's like
Or
3
you
units
can-
or 4 units.
Yeah,
You
so
don't,
for certain, we can do the 4 low. Whatever you all decide tonight, if it's decided that we do the low and the 2 very low, that's still sort of a coin toss if we can get that approved or not.
got it, okay.
The 4 low, we can't.
Who is doing the approval of?
Like, it's not yet, and when I say approval, it's not like a city approval, it's just more of the construction lender. Whenever you think you have an approval to do this, we submit it to them with this. I'm not saying they won't, but they don't always like changes like that, so
yeah.
I just want to we put that in there at the request, so I want to be honest, and I don't know if that's going to get approved.
No. So even if we were to say, we want B, it might not shake out that only B.
What happens if that's the case? What if we say we want the 3 units and then you find out you got approval for it? What would happen next? Does anyone know?
We'd probably come back here and come back.
We can also condition it to be
Okay.
that, option B is what we try to get. And if the developer comes back, the applicant comes back and says, we just can't make it work,
Okay.
then we default back to the original affordable housing plan. If that, Danny, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems like that's possible and something we can do.
That'd be good.
Do we need to come to a consensus about our recommendation? Okay, so I guess, who is in favor of
Do
the,
we have discussion or do we?
or is this?
Are we just jumping right?
I
Look, it's still
Okay.
I mean, originally I wasn't sure if the January 1st was something because our housing element changed it, and so I wanted to set a precedent to say like, this is what the council's going for, that we should go for the change, but if it's a state initiated change, then that's different. I think in general, I'm usually in favor of opportunities that can cut lower to the very low, but it's that toss-up of, one more unit versus a deeper affordability. I lean towards B, but I understand the benefits of A as well.
Yeah, I think it's not clear cut for me as well. I mean, but similarly, I think I lean towards B, try to get the 2 very low income and 1 low income.
I agree. It just seems like that's back up to the lender and the brokers and so it takes it out of our hands anyway. So I'd rather recommend B and
Okay.
take a shot at very low.
Yeah, I think based on this data that you researched and
Mhm.
presented, that really leads us
Yeah.
that way. Because there's 0.
Well,
There's 211, right?
211 out of 290,
Yeah.
compared with
There's,
712
double,
out of
so
250.
more than, exactly.
So
Can we
need
vote
a
on it with the
motion?
contingency? I mean, could we, we could just, because I think the contingency is the way to go.
Yeah, we don't
I
want
mean,
to.
because we don't want to jam
Yeah.
completely. I mean, so if we can't get the numbers to work, then 4 is great. I mean, we're very pleased and grateful for 4. Well,
Okay, Yeah, no issues with doing it like that, the contingency, we'll do our best to get that done and then come back to staff if it doesn't work, and kind of either or, starting with B is the first option.
So a couple of clarifying questions, if I may. So if we're going to, if you all are going to make a motion, you would motion to recommend option B with the developer trying to fulfill that, and if he can't, we would default back to option A. Okay.
Okay, so I'll motion to recommend option B with, contingency of if it doesn't pass, we'll go with the 4 low to medium option
Second. Go for it.
I'll second.
A. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, option B, please.
Thank you so much.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion items. Substantial amendment.
So that's me. I'm,
One thing, I don't know if it matters, in the original proposal for the 212 thing, there was a typo. It said that they were proposing 2 units, and then later it said 2 very low one, like right in the same sentence. So if that's important, note.
is that on the worksheet or is it in the?
It's on the staff report.
Okay.
On page 3, under proposed affordable housing plan, it's the second paragraph. It says the proposal is 15% 2 units, and then later right after it says 10% plus 5 is 3 units, so just wanted to point that out.
Okay, thank you. I'll make sure to have that correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So tonight I'm coming to you because I'll be going to council to request that we make a substantial amendment to our consolidated plan. The consolidated plan essentially tells HUD how we intend to spend our funds over a period of time, over a 5-year period. It's kind of HUD's work plan for us. The department was asked to take on the monitoring and review of the CDBG program. For a long time, it was outsourced to another contractor. But when we received it, we did some analysis and found that we had a number of projects that were moving either really slowly or they hadn't kicked off at all. A lot of the reason for that was because in 2020, when we did the first consolidated plan, it was at the same time we were hit with the pandemic. And we received quite a bit of funding through the Affordable Rescue Plan and through the CARES Act. When the city received those substantial amounts of funds, they were conditioned and they had to be spent first, which meant that the entitlement amount that you guys usually see, we couldn't get to that until we were able to get to the CARES Act funding. A lot of the projects that the city does with CDBG are large capital projects. We do a lot of ADA projects, a lot of flat work projects. We did projects here at the Senior Center. Those projects took longer because there were supply chain issues, there were labor issues, there were a number of issues that required that they be delayed. And we looked through just to see how much was it that we were expecting that we had in essentially the line of credit that HUD gives us to expend on projects. We looked to see how much was there, and we were finding that we had quite a bit of excess funds in our line of credit. HUD requires that you spend, in the line of credit, you have to spend down to 1.5% of your grant. We are at double that right now. We're not alone. There are a number of jurisdictions that are in the same boat and for the same reasons. But at this point, we're talking to HUD about we'd like to amend our original comp plan so that we can take some of the funding that we had intended to spend on some of these slow-moving projects and redirect them to projects that we think will be faster moving. And so we'll be going to council to kind of explain why we'd like to amend our comp plan. We have identified about 482,682 that we think that we can reprogram into new projects that will move a lot faster. So one thing that we know is we've got a new economic development department that we did not have when we initially did the consolidated plan. And that program really is trying to develop a budget. We'd like to help them to establish a budget. Economic development is one of the pillars of community development for our plan. So HUD is, it's an eligible expense, and HUD would be pleased to see that. We also would like to spend some funds on the Pacifico project. We're looking at that site. We're hoping to talk to developers and create a package. Part of that package will be, where the city can support the program. And we think that expending some of the CDBG funds to do that, make it available for pre-development work, would be a good way to spend money quickly. The Parks Department is also in the process of developing an inclusionary playground. They also need pre-development funds. They need an architect, they need demo, they need site plans, things like that. Those also are eligible CDBG expenses. They believe they can expend those relatively quickly. And then we're still looking at developing a navigator program. And we're working with HUD to determine if we can use the funds in this way because it's more public services. But if they approve us for this, then we'll be able to do training for people we identified as peers and people we identify in the community to be community navigators. So a lot of the programs that you'll see that we're reprogramming from are from prior years, all from when there was the pandemic and there was a lot of just projects that just did not move quickly. But HUD does give you an opportunity to reallocate funds and reprogram them to something that we can spend quickly. If we can do this, we think we'll get back closer to the ratio that we need to be in. And in this climate, we're trying to spend money as quickly as possible. I'll just be blunt. We're trying to get money out the door and expend it as quickly as we can. And we think this is the way that we'll be able to do that. So, and I did all this talking without forwarding my own slides. My computer wants to do its own thing tonight, so can we move to it? I guess not. You think about it. But that's pretty much what I wanted to talk with you all about and make sure that you were aware of what we're doing. There we go. Here's the problem. Here are the different, funds that we'd like to reprogram, the funds that we are asking to amend them to. And that's pretty much my request.
So I see, the slides that you just showed, I also see. So I know a couple things in 2019, 20, 2021 just weren't allocated, so that seems easy enough, they haven't been allocated. But things like the YC3 farmhouse, what happens to that project? I mean.
My question to what happens to the projects that are pulling funds from?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, yes.
Public comment? Seeing none, discuss.
Okay, so like the farmhouse, before we made the decision to reallocate those funds, we looked at those projects. The farmhouse project is actually more in county land, and what they were hoping to develop was a new septic system and a new plumbing system for that site. The amount of funding that we were going to put towards that isn't going to get them close to what they need to do. And it wouldn't be under our purview to kind of help them move that along. So they had other projects that we're doing at the farmhouse that we're replacing all the floors right now. That's one thing that we're doing with them. We were looking for different ways that they could kind of reprogram funds that would move faster. But the original large septic project that they were looking at would take quite a bit of time and much more funding than what they had to go toward. There were a couple of little projects at $5,000 for Davis Oral Health. Never got off the ground because it really wasn't an eligible project. There's a little funding left in fair housing that we are also going to roll. We've also got unspent funds in fair housing that we still have the ability to spend with this small amount because we can't go back and spend it in that program year. We're going to ask to reprogram it. And then most of the other projects, there were projects that were unallocated. There's one you see for $165,000. That was money that we weren't able to spend because we had program income that we had to expend first. So we didn't get to spend this large chunk as well. So we're looking to, after we looked through all these program years, we tried to cobble all of them together for a larger chunk, see exactly what they were, checked in with the people that were responsible for the projects to make sure that we weren't going to create a hardship for them. It didn't appear that we were, and we had these opportunities to spend in the new programs.
Maybe it's slightly unrelated. I'm curious, how did a project that wasn't eligible get approved?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But in talking to folks, there were, I think once they spoke more with the person that made the request, there were some discrepancies and we weren't able to move forward with it.
So, the projects where the money is being redirected to, are those new projects, or how are they funded before?
They're new.
What happened?
They're new.
Totally
Economic development in particular is new. We have a new department now of economic development. We didn't have an economic development department before. And the new director has some ideas for things that she'd like to do that she can implement pretty quickly in partnership with the DDBA and the Chamber and a couple of other businesses. The Pacifico project has been ongoing, but at this point, we're reevaluating that program. And one of the things that makes that program attractive to developers is the city owns the land. And if we not only own the land, we've got some funding that we can use as seed money to get the project off the ground. It makes it also that much more attractive. And then the Parks Department, that's a new project. They're proposing the inclusionary playground is a new project that they're proposing, and they're just getting started on that. And the Navigator program is also a new program.
So how is that process like? Is it inclusive, or is it accessible for everyone, or is there a
The Parks project?
The new projects, how do people know to apply for these projects?
They won't be applying for it. These funds will be, the city will administer these funds, and they will go directly to these projects. So this isn't like the public services projects that you see where people apply for public services funds. This is different. These are infrastructure funds that the city will make the determination that we will move forward with HUD's approval.
I'm curious, do the funds need to be related to social services? Because I'm just thinking the last three totally make sense, but then the economic development, I just feel, I'm just curious.
And this is new. Economic development is one of the pillars of community development. And community development block grants in particular. So there are eligible uses that HUD will approve, and economic development is one of those uses. The city just hasn't done an economic development project specifically spent on economic development because we didn't have a department or a director. But it's an eligible expense. HUD likes to see funds that are going into the community that are going to support small businesses, women and minority-owned businesses, micro enterprises, and other
Workforce development?
Yeah, workforce development, job creation. Those are all pillars of they're all projects that HUD likes to see spending on. We just haven't had a means or the capacity to do that before. Now we do.
But this is just it's not a one-time thing, it's just correct the problem that we have. It's not something that we do.
No, not at all. When you do a substantial amendment, it's when you change your plan. That's why we bring it to you. We bring it to council because I also have to get approval from HUD. And we've talked to HUD about We've got a work plan that we're working through with HUD right now, and we've talked to them about our slow-moving funds because they've got a lot of concern. And so, in talking to them about that, we did bring them these projects that we were thinking would move faster. They knew it would be a one-time kind of cleanup. And they are they're looking for us to bring this to them so that we can expand. So once we've cleaned we're hoping that once we've cleaned all of that line of credit up and have spent down the amount that's available to us, that gets us out of HUD jail, essentially. And it gives them confidence that we've done our analysis, that the city is actually broadening the way that it's expending its block grant funding. They like to see diversity in how you're expending the funds. They want cities and communities to reach into as many areas of the community to lift the community up as possible. And this provides that level of variety.
I have a question about the homeless navigators training. Is that, you were describing kind of something we're looking at getting into? Is it, so we're looking at volunteer navigators in the community, or?
So
employee,
we're
or-
still in discussion about that. I think my bigger concern about bringing the navigator program forward is it's more of a public service and not an infrastructure type project. So I have to see if HUD will allow us to spend the funding on that, because they will allow us to spend it on navigators if it has a direct client benefit. So if we were hiring people that were having the experience, hiring them as peers, if they were low-income clients, which is what HUD likes to see, is how are you supporting low-income clients, they wouldn't have a problem with that. The issue is if we operate the navigator program where we're training volunteers that would then go out into the community and interact with people that are having the experience, that's a different thing. And so I have to talk with HUD and see if we can expend funds on training for volunteers, because it's not direct service. But I do want to put that there as a placeholder, so if they do say yes, we've got the means to do that work. Now, we've got 3 different types of programs that we're looking at that are navigator-like. At Downtown Streets team, we're currently under contract with them to do a peer support program where they're training people that are having the experience to actually serve as a navigator. They're doing it peer-to-peer. I'm talking to DJUSD. There's a program that they have that's essentially a promotores program where they train people that are Spanish speaking or people that are from a marginal community. They train them to go out into the neighborhood because they're having the experience as well, and they're also helping people to navigate to services. The last component is, I've talked to you about the Safe Harbor program that we were talking about last month, and that's where we're talking to the faith-based community and trying to get them trained. I'm less sure if I'll be able to use CDBG funds to support that. I might have to look for other funding for that, but it's also kind of lumped into that navigation.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask what the community development housing study?
Yes. So one of the things that we've been talking to economic development about and to community development is what do we know about current housing inventory? What's the condition of the housing that's already here? I don't believe that we've done a study on existing housing in a while and the condition of the existing housing. And that's why we'd like to bring someone on that can actually do that type of study, because once we have that information, it allows us to think about using CDBG funds for maybe a housing rehabilitation program. You know, how do we help seniors rehabilitate their homes? Maybe a landlord engagement program where if you own a complex that hasn't been brought up, is in deteriorating condition, maybe we can offer you a loan to bring it up to a better condition, if you say that you'll dedicate some of the units that we rehab specifically to low-income people. But we won't know that until we have a better idea of how close to the end of its useful life some of these apartment complexes are and some of the houses are that are here mixed. So we just want to find out, what do we have?
Is that referring to all housing or just like stuff that's designated as affordable? Like what
I'm gonna, and I would kind of defer to community development, but we'd probably be looking at really all the housing in Davis, what's here. And then mostly we'll be probably looking at housing that's older than a certain date, because we know that those houses built before 1980, maybe 90, we leave it up to the consultant to kind of tell us of the houses that were built in this era, how many of them need work, how many of them are really just not in good condition, and could potentially benefit from a program that we would offer. But we just don't know right now.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. I like it. I mean, I feel like 73,000 doesn't sound like a lot for fully understanding.
Well,
but
that's just,
like
but
getting
that's
it in
CDBG.
prioritized.
Yeah, and that's just CDBG. This
Okay.
is our CDBG
Or put
portion.
other,
Yeah.
put other funds towards
Yeah,
it.
so we could
Got it.
potentially put other funds towards it.
Cool.
So kind of piggybacking to that, after the initial funding from this amendment, it will be funded in the future from the CDBG funds?
So,
Or how
all of
this
this-
thing?
These are all CDBG funds now.
Mhm.
And what we would do is all this money is sitting in our line of credit, unused. So we're saying it's sitting unused because these older projects aren't moving. We're telling HUD, we've got new projects. We'd like to use that money that's in this line of credit now on these projects that we're proposing. So the funding's already there. We just need an agreement with HUD that says, yes, you can spend it on these projects. And then we would go out and we'd be working with community development and economic development to say, the funding's available to you, start working on these projects. You know, go ahead and get them started. Once you're ready, the funds are there for you to use. And that would be now. And a lot of these projects, you see those dates there, my goal is to get a lot of this spent by June. That's what I would like to do. That's how fast I think some of it can move. Maybe not all of it, but we might be able to move a big chunk of it by June. And that would make me more comfortable with knowing that we have funds that are committed to something and that couldn't be swept back. And at this point, I don't know what may be swept back.
I'm thinking like some of this would just be, you would just be allocated to something. So for example, putting in the economic development budget, it's not necessarily all gonna get spent by May, it's just gonna be allocated there. So it's safe, while allocated there, it's safe.
It would be safer if it was under contract, and that's what we're looking to do. Because we've got it sitting here and there are programs that potentially could go, we're looking for contracts. If we've got a contract, it's secure.
Okay.
So, and that's what all of these projects have things that they're ready to contract for, they just don't have the funds.
But I mean, in the future, say for example, we're looking at the housing study, it's not just a one-year project, I'm assuming it's a thing.
This is a one-time
This is
kind of
just a
bite at the
one-time.
apple. Yeah, because you don't need, well, and again, I'm talking out of turn because I'm not sure from a community development standpoint. An inventory, we would do one time to just tell us what's there, and then you probably wouldn't need to do it again unless we decided to do it in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, as the housing ages, but I don't know. And the consultant may recommend, you might want to come back in 5 years because these are this close, but we don't know that. But for right now, it's just what's happening right now.
Okay.
So we have that.
Speaking of contracts, on the left-hand side, I mean, is anything held up in any kind of, I'm just wondering if there's been some backlash of like, you're like, oh, we're gonna reallocate this money, and then, this CDBG programs are like, wait, we're waiting to use the money.
Yeah, no,
Okay, they're all.
no, so the CDBG admin, that's my department. So those are administrative dollars that were from previous program years that we weren't able to spend. And essentially, when we're saying that we aren't able to spend them, it means I don't have backup documents to support how we expended those funds. So if I don't have those backup documents, it's not even going to consider what we have. And for some of these program years, we don't have the backup documents to go back and grab some of this admin. So admin is the administrative stuff is all fine. The $1,600 for Davis Community Meals and Housing, I asked them to go back and look for receipts from 22-23, and they don't have it. So no receipts, I can't ask for it. And the rest, it's pretty much the same. We just don't have a way to substantiate that.
So it sounds, I mean, I think all of those seem like very worthwhile projects to reallocate to. And I'm curious, even for your own department, I mean, it sounds like when we're reallocating, it's like future use, like it doesn't have to be from 22-23 that they're going to spend, right?
This is where it came from. It was that program year that we said we were going to spend X amount in this program year on this thing, and didn't.
But now when you're reallocating, it no longer has to be like
No.
backed up from 2 years ago. So
It
I'm
doesn't.
curious, for your own department, were there no things that you could maybe spend on in the social services department? In the future, like reallocate to yourself essentially to something different?
No. We spent a lot of time trying to go back to see if we could grab receipts, if we could find a way to spend on salaries.
Or in the future?
Well, it's not, it's.
Because the other ones are going to be spending in the future, right?
They're spending in this program year.
Uh-huh.
We will spend in 24-25, at the latest in 25-26. The only way I'll be able to spend in the future is if we get a new allocation, a new entitlement amount for 25-26, then I can spend admin in that program year on administration. And the only way I can expend these old ones is by saying, I need to move it because it's just sitting. And I can't spend it right now through my department. I can't find receipts from the contractor to expend it in that way. And rather than have it just sit there, we're dragging it forward to these new projects. And if we haven't expended it in the past, and we go to HUD and we say, but we're going to expend it now, I think it's much less likely that we'll get it. If I said, I got CDBG admin now, if you spend it out now, they're going to go, yeah, I see what you did there. So the projects that we're bringing forward are more aligned with the climate right now. We like to see things that are friendly to business. They like to see things that are friendly to entrepreneurship, to job creation. So that's what we're trying to move quickly and fly under the radar and get the dollars spent. Because like I said, my biggest concern is that the money will be swept back and we won't have access to it at all.
So is this holding up the process for 25, 26, the unrelated?
This isn't.
This isn't, okay.
This isn't. We have yet to, HUD has yet to announce the process for 25, 26. So we haven't been able to start that process at all. We just received our agreement for HUD for 24, 25 in January. So, again, given the climate, we're trying to find projects that are supportable and that can do good in the community, but that allows us to say, no, this money is connected to something and it's important to the community. And look, it meets the eligibility requirements that you have. So we're doing what you say the program is supposed to do. Give us an opportunity to spend. And again, we looked at what kinds of projects would work. And we're being really, we're very clear that these are big dollars. We're making these big dollars available, but you need to spend them quickly. And that's why we gave these deadlines. And the folks that we're talking to are saying, we've got things for it. Again, I brought this, I'm bringing it to you because I wanted you to be aware before I take it to council and explain the same thing, but I thought it was important that you understand what we're asking for and why. And then next month, we'll be coming to you with a draft of the consolidated plan, because now this is from the 5-year plan that was 2020 to 2025. And the new comp plan is 2025 to 2030. So we'll be bringing the draft to you next month, so you can take a look at that. And we've added a few things in the new plan that weren't in the old one, including economic development. So we're just trying to show that the city is being thoughtful about making funds available to a wide variety of sources. And mostly in support of anything that's going to serve people that are low-income clientele. That's our goal, and that's our target, is low-income clients. So.
Do we open this to public comment now?
We did.
We did already.
Yeah. We did.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So that's this. That's my item, so no other questions? Look at that, it worked. All right.
Next item, homeless strategic plan subcommittee.
Yes. Yeah, as you all know, Judy's not here tonight. Judy isn't here tonight, so I'll give up the update. I don't know, do we have the slides?
Do you want them, so you can kind of tell me when to?
I have them here.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you just tell me when to advance.
Yeah, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so, yeah, Judy and I have been working and meeting with Dana meeting Dana every 2 weeks, and then Judy and I have been working in the interim on a number of different things to launch the homeless strategic plan subcommittee. We're right about to launch, I'll show a timeline in a moment, but yeah, we're right about to launch the application for the steering committee, and so we thought it was a good opportunity to kind of present how we're asking people to apply, what questions we're asking them, how we're going to evaluate who's and score those applications. We are a subcommittee, and so we're not going to be voting on aspects of this right now, but we're very interested to hear your feedback and input on this before we're kind of at the edge of the next phase of this, and so it's a good time to get input and any feedback before we do that. So yeah, we're going to be talking through a few of the things that we've decided or that we're proposing about this steering committee. Okay, you can go to the next slide. We have a problem statement as well, but I developed this draft theory of change. So if Davis has an organized and regular forum, and if it's filled with experienced and diverse organizations and individuals, and if they discuss, prioritize, an action plan in Davis homeless strategic plan priority areas, then these are kind of our objectives. The Davis community will more successfully implement the Davis homeless strategic plan. Networks of organizations, associations, city departments, and individuals will strengthen their connections and communication with current and future work. So we want to try to action we want to action the strategic plan as best as we can, but we also feel that the steering committee is an opportunity to strengthen connections in general across the many different actors who are all trying to make the city better for everyone. And so that's a secondary goal, I would say, or secondary objective. And the third one, as apparent from all the if statements, but the steering committee wants to raise awareness amongst the public and all other stakeholders about the needs, process, and progress of the Davis Homeless Strategic Plan. Yeah, so that's kind of some of our core thinking. Yeah, basic timelines. So in January, we started meeting, we kind of discussed if we wanted to do an application or not. We discussed, do we have an unlimited number of seats or a limited number of seats on the steering committee? This month, we're kind of finalizing, or we have finalized, finalizing the list of people that we're going to do some direct outreach to invite people to apply, but it is an open application, so anyone can apply. Finalizing the invite letter, finalizing the application itself and the rubric, and then we're also, this week, hoping to actually send out those direct invites and kind of launch the application process. We don't have a set time frame it's going to be open for input on that. We're thinking maybe 2 weeks, 2-week window of having people being able to apply. And so we close it in March and score and select members in March. Concurrently, during the application window when it's open, we're working on the charter as well. Some of the elements are kind of contained in this presentation here. Also, something that we've talked about a lot with Dana already is that we don't want Judy and myself, and input from Dana as well, and input from the commission to make the charter, a stone document that's we're deciding everything for the whole life of the steering committee. We want the steering committee to be able to adjust itself and make decisions to, change itself. And so that's the attitude that we're taking in with the charter. Is that we want to set something up that's good, but we're also happy and want to create the ability for the steering committee to make changes to it and to make, be able to govern itself. And then, I don't know when we might have a first meeting, maybe in March or maybe in April. This is like a rough timeline. Any questions so far? Okay, so seats, what we've come to is to have 20 people on the committee itself. We're dividing applications by kind of whether or not you represent an organization or whether or not you're just an individual. And so we have 15 seats for representatives of organizations or associations, or and then 3 seats for individuals, and then 2, for Judy and myself.
And those are individuals with lived experience, right?
We left it open, but we're going through steps to actively encourage and support people with lived experience to apply, and looking into accommodations and accessibility features of the steering committee. As it would relate to that. This was one of Judy's many great ideas. In this application and share out process, we're thinking to let people know, you don't have to be a member if you want to be involved. Yes, you can apply to be a member, and there'll be certain expectations with that. We're thinking to meet monthly. We're thinking to meet monthly over Zoom and maybe meet quarterly in person. So there's certain expectations about being a member, and there's limited seats. But if you have a lot of information and just are too busy and have too many things on your plate, we want to encourage you to still be involved. And so we have this role called the technical advisor, where it's kind of a contact list of people willing to give input on specific topics, or maybe to attend one-off meetings and give presentations or be involved in some discussion, but not enter the kind of governance or voting within the committee. And there's an unlimited number of spots for that. And then there's even a lighter touch engagement option for just being on a mailing list for the steering committee. Next slide. For outreach this is kind of mostly outreach. It's about the establishment of the steering committee and about the application process. So we have a list of 29 kind of organizations / individuals at those organizations already, and so we'll be doing kind of a direct email outreach that way. We're also working with a couple people in the community to recommend people with lived experience who might be interested in joining the steering committee. And so it was recommended to us to kind of work to develop relationships a little bit first and encourage application. And so we'll be doing that during this application window, early in this application window. And we'll be developing a flyer for kind of posting on the city website and social media with a link to the application. Very open to ideas on this as well. I'll pause here to again get a lot more other information. Any suggestions or questions or thoughts so far? So for the application, we just have a Google form, kind of a branching Google form, depending on what level of engagement you want to have. And then the core of it is like there's these 3 questions that are scored, will be scored, and then a 4th criteria that will be scored. I'll show those in a moment. So all that is in a Google form. You can go to the next slide. Okay, so these are the font's a little small on the bottom parts there, but I'll call it out. So for the rubric, there's 4 different criteria of the rubric. So interest in joining. So this one is we're assigning 10 points. So we would like organizations and people who are passionate and committed to the committee and its goals. Interest is super important in being engaged and involved. The second area is experience. So we would like organizations and people with strong ties and experiences around reducing homelessness and serving unhoused people, or that directly interface with unsheltered community or people who are housing insecure. That one has equal weight to the interest in joining. The third criteria is strategic plan contribution. So we want people and organizations with knowledge, resources, and ideas to support us collectively making progress on the Davis Homeless Strategic Plan. This one has the most weight. It doesn't have a lot more, but it has 15 points. So it's more important that how people talk about how they want to contribute or what they think about contributing and actioning the strategic plan. And so that's 15 points compared to the 10 points for experience and interest in joining. And then lastly, one that we struggled with a little bit, like we were struggling with how to create a process that creates tapestry of different members and different associations and different organizations within the community. I use the word constellation there. We want a constellation of voices and perspectives. We thought about at one point with the seats, I certainly 15 seats for organizations. We thought about do we make it more narrow? Do we have 1 seat for if you're have legal experience around homelessness and housing affordability, and 1 seat or 3 seats for people providing direct services, we decided against that, but we still wanted some criteria to allow us to allow Judy and I, as we're grading applications, to try to not have everybody with working with a similar type of organization that just has the best application based on the criteria on the committee. So to try to give us a little bit of leeway to kind of look across everyone that applied and be like, wow, we think this would be a good mix. But it's only 5 points, so it's not, we're not going to put our thumb on the scale heavily. Okay, so next steps are outreach about the existence of the launch of the steering committee and the application. We're keeping again a 2-week application window. We're going to be developing the charter, and then once the application window closes, we'll be scoring and selecting members. And I think that's all.
Thank you. Is the charter going to be developed without the committee?
I think, we'll have something. We're thinking to create something to look at. Maybe it'll be in a draft form when but I don't know. Do you have a recommendation around that?
Not necessarily, just wondering.
Okay, yes.
Were you just thinking about how the charter should be developed or expanded by the
Yeah,
steering committee?
yeah,
I guess if you're talking about how you want it to be formed by the committee, then perhaps not. I mean, the other option is to not build the charter until you have the
right,
committee formed, and then
right,
you can provide the input of like, this is what a template could look like, and then
right.
provide feedback.
Yeah,
And that's
I've
the-
never done it before, but I feel like, yeah, creating a charter with like, 20 different voices might be hard. Like from scratch, like creating one from scratch, giving them a template might be like some middle ground
You
maybe.
have to have some
But I
sort
feel
of
like
skeletal.
Yeah, I think having a skeleton,
something,
Yeah.
something
skeleton template, skeleton charter.
basic, yeah. But then, yeah, have like clear agenda items early to like discuss that and talk about revisions, Yeah.
Public comment?
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. Apologies. Is there any public comment? No? Okay. Discussion?
It looks great.
Yeah, very well thought out.
Yeah, I've done a lot of stakeholder engagement in my career, definitely make the charter. And like, and just make it, just make it and
Make
make it,
something.
and make it loose, and then
Yeah.
revise it and revise it and
Yeah.
revise it and revise it. I mean, it's worth not having,
Yeah,
that, it will take a year
I agree. We've done things
Start
already.
from scratch.
if we start from scratch.
Yeah.
And even in your draft, draft letter, you mentioned guiding principles and priorities and things, and I think all those helps.
It's just a
Yeah.
draft. It's
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of this planning.
Does anyone have thoughts on like, one thing I've been thinking about, I don't know if I've discussed it with Judy or David yet, but like, how do we, a couple different angles of it, like, how do we really make this something that like people feel like is a value add and like, it's not just another meeting every month that they have to attend that not much gets accomplished or that, is some of that is like, how do we be effective, which there's a question of how do we actually be effective, and there's also a question of how do we get people interested and show that we can be effective in this first phase, I guess, of getting interest and getting people to apply. But do you have any, because I mean, it's a unique body, sort of, like it's not, doesn't hold a budget, I mean, but it does have, it is connected to the city's budget, potentially.
So your invites,
Yeah.
your targeted invites
Yes.
are people who were part of the initial so.
Our first step was that every
every
single member who is developing the strategic plan is on our, within that 29.
To have these stakeholders who are kind
Yes.
of already sold on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they'll be sold, right, but I have a feeling that those are people, we do want people who are motivated to work on
Yeah.
moving this forward,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
We just have to prove it.
Yeah.
It's built in.
Yeah. I'm trying to,
Yeah.
I guess, we go ahead.
Is there any money? I mean, just for the
Food.
the lived experience folks.
Oh,
Good
we're looking at
point.
that, yeah.
Incentive.
Just the tiny incentives make it huge.
Yes.
And we're looking at that, I'm trying to determine how we could potentially do that. Again, if we're asking people with lived experience to participate in this program, that could be something that we could spend some of this community out of it on, because they're peers. They would be peers and providing input, so. But we also want to talk to the directors at the agencies about what would be
Yeah.
the best thing.
I talked to Tracy
Fulmer.
And she did obviously mention this, but then there's a counter dynamic that she described of like, don't want it to create a sense of otherness, like within the group, like only one person is getting compensated, like oh, I'm getting compensated. So like trying to find some balance of, some way to do it that doesn't create a feeling of otherness, but that does, compensate, people for their time. And so that's the poll, one of the polls that we're thinking about.
this is kind of maybe just semantics, but is there a reason that you, or like, when you say the weight of uniqueness, that sounds like diversity is what you're going for there?
Yeah,
That
but I
seems
feel like
like the-
diversity, usually people think of, a lot of times people think of demographic diversity, or like, diversity of experience, which we would look at, but there's also like organizational diversity as well. Yeah, so it could be called
Just like
diversity. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would
Individual.
find a way to word that differently.
Okay, now you need this, okay. Does it sound like a little?
Yeah, it's too
strange?
hard to describe. It's not strange,
Okay.
but it's when stuff can't be.
Yeah,
And you kind of like want a diversity of voices.
I mean, honestly, that could be under
Yeah.
strategic plan contributions or experience. I mean, you could, or, yeah, you could find a way. Uniqueness is just, it's too esoteric.
And I feel like what it's trying to get at is essentially like you want a diversity of voices and perspective.
right,
So that's just like what came to me as like the obvious way to
That's the
describe that.
intro.
right. Like, a specific example is like, one of the departments we're thinking about directly reaching out to is the police department. There's a community liaison for the police department. And, I mean, interest in joining, they might score high, like, but experience and strategic plan contribution, they might not score as high as like people who are direct service providers. And so, but we want them at the table, and so we wanted some criteria to allow us to try to promote that. So that's what we're trying to figure out
I mean,
how.
best case is you get a lot of interest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people who are applying, and you
Right.
can have some control over,
Yeah,
not half of them be from, faith-based organizations.
Yeah, right.
That's what I think you're
You're gonna
talking
do
about. No, I don't know.
that. I don't know,
But
yeah.
that's what you're trying to avoid.
Yeah, we don't want like everyone to be from a similar type of organization.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The voices and perspectives is important, like it's also important, so.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you, we'll think about that and so either rewording it or maybe incorporating it into the other ones.
I think that incorporating it is really good.
I mean, because that is part of your strategic plan contribution.
Yeah.
Just-
Okay, yeah.
You can make like, with knowledge, resources, or like experience.
I mean,
Okay.
you can just move it, like, just,
Just say
Kind
like
of
5
phase.
points for your,
Yeah, just-
within the experience, okay, yeah. Okay, that's helpful. Cool, thank you.
The 29 organizations that you're directly
Mhm.
approaching, how did you come up with this? Or who
Brains-
are they, I guess?
Brainstorming, and mostly, I'm, only a year and a half into Davis, and so I don't have a lot of knowledge of all the different, but Dana and Judy. Yeah.
But Judy knows.
Judy,
Judy definitely
Judy,
knows.
essentially, Judy and Dana were suggesting a list, and I was writing it down. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you, awesome work.
I'll bring up the liaison reports again because, as I mentioned, we recently received our funding, so now we've got our organizations that were funded in 24-25 are actively doing their programs. Those are Davis Community Meals and Housing, YOLO Children's, YOLO Community Care Continuum, or YCCC, Short-Term Emergency Aid Committee, that's STAKE, Meals on Wheels, and YOLO Crisis Nursery. Did I miss anybody? I don't think so. Yeah, I think that's it. We had, Davis Community Meals has 2 projects, State has 2 projects, and then there's YCCC, Meals on Wheels, and Crisis Nursery. So I was thinking if you would like to start to meet with some of those organizations between now and the end of the fiscal year, which is June 30. You are welcome to self-select who you'd like to meet with. And if you like, I can send out an email to each of you and with a little blurb about each of the different programs. And then you can shoot an email back that says, I'd like to go out and see this organization, and we've got the interview form that we used from before, and we've got the little mini report. And then we let the agency know that you're gonna come out and just kind of learn more about the program.
And these are ones we got for the last year.
These are the ones that got programmed in this program year, 24-25.
Didn't the yellow food bank get anything?
Oh, yeah, they did, so the food bank. Knew it was missing one. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 projects altogether. But I'll make sure that I send those to you in an email. And then because the liaison report should be relatively short. They would kind of present at this period, and you can report on your interview with them. If you'd like to ask them to bring a representative to talk a little bit about the program with you, you're welcome to do that too, however you choose to make the presentation. But it can be just an informative thing for the rest of the commission. So I'll send that email out by the end of this week. I will say tomorrow, and I don't know what my week's gonna look like, so I will say by the end of this week. So, okay. Any public comment? I don't think so. Okay. All right. Oh, this is the part that most of these meetings have to be. So, the long-range calendar. Let me bring it up. We are now in, February. We have this calendar is through the end of the year. But again, I can add to the long range. You see in each one of the months, there's a section for a liaison update. There are a couple of things that we'll be bringing back to you, hopefully. The annual plan and the paper will be coming forward. We may have our PIC count data. The PIC count is the point in time count. Every other year, they do an in-person count, and the years that